going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. All on my lonesome today to talk about all the different things that happened this weekend. This is not going to be any kind of review. This is just going to be news and notes, headlines that came out of this weekend, both for TNA, who had a pretty damn good Bound for Glory, and for WWE, who had a 3-day sojourn over in Australia. Now, I'm all for sympathy for our international audiences. I'm all for, I gotta get up early to watch a show because that's what the rest of the world has to do the rest of the time. In the past 4 days, I've had to do it 3 times, and yes, it's not as early as I would get up to go to work, but I was dozing through some of the stuff, which was unfortunate because WWE managed to accomplish quite a bit in their time, in their travels in Australia. I'm going to leave the Bound for Glory conversation to the end because there's a little bit more to nitpick with that. SmackDown is probably the most newsworthy show. Now, obviously, it's the go-home show to a pay-per-view. It's also the SmackDown before an international show where some of the big things that would happen on a pay-per-view just happen on the SmackDown just to make it feel a little bit bigger, a little bit more robust for the international audiences, etc. So I'm going to start with SmackDown. As I say, this isn't a review per se. It's just the new bits and bobs that came out of the show and what's going to affect things going forward. Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu keep butting heads, literally and figuratively. One attacks the other in the back, then the other attacks the other in the back. It's been happening for a few weeks now. It's going to happen eventually. I don't understand the people that are saying, oh, what a big step down for Jacob Fatu. And it's like, well, Jacob Fatu had the U.S. title, did a pretty good job with the U.S. title, has removed himself from the MFT situation and gone off in his own creative direction, which is a good thing. We'll talk about them in a second. And Drew McIntyre is just having bangers with everybody. Now, Drew McIntyre should be in the title picture as well. He has been in the title picture. He had a shot at Cody Rhodes just recently, but he showed with CM Punk last year how prominent and how important a non-title feud could be. Now, caveat, it was because they kept on costing each other world titles, etc. But between the two of them, go back to the Hell in the Cell that a lot of people, myself included, said did a little bit of a revamp job for the Hell in the Cell concept. That there was no title involved. There was no title involved there between Drew and Punk. It was just, they're fighting over a bracelet. Like, if you want to be a bad faith actor with All Elite in your Twitter handle, then you can do that. These guys are building towards something really cool. We say it in the women's division all the time, and they're doing it a lot over on Raw, that, they're not booking the women's division that well because all they ever fight over is like a title or a man, which isn't true and never really has been true. But we're showing in a lot of different ways with the Kabuki Warriors, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, the Judgment Day, all of that. None of that is title related. None of it. Not even tag team title related. So I don't understand why we can't, like that thing that was the big measuring stick of, oh, are they doing good with the women's division or not? Why can't we apply that to the guys as well? These guys are going to go in there and kill each other at some point. Drew's going to make Jacob Fatu look like $1 million. Jacob Fatu is super over. And the point that I want to bring to all this, and I wouldn't have brought it up, is before they got into, okay, here we go, we're going to beat each other up in the back again, there was just ever so slightly a side-eye from Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes. Just, two ships passing in the night backstage, and he said, hey, look, I know you got Crown Jewel tomorrow, you got Seth on your mind, whatever. When all that's said and done and off your plate, I'm coming for that. And Cody Rhodes just looked at him and said, good. So you've got him feuding currently with a criminally underrated in his own right, former champion in Drew McIntyre, and he has now set his stall out. He has set his target. He's got Cody and Cody's title in the crosshairs. I do not understand how people are saying, and for a long time, the MFT story wasn't going anywhere. The Bloodline 2.0 story wasn't going anywhere. They've removed him from that. They've left a lot of other people in there, but they've removed him from that to put him in there with champions and former champions and conversation with current champions and conversation with not just any champion, but Cody Rhodes, who's become the hood ornament of the company. So that little 2-second interaction between Fatu and Cody before we got to our regular scheduled Fatu and Drew brawl gave me a lot of hope for a lot of cool things. Now, several things happened over the course of the evening, which made the story of SmackDown really the MFTs. Now, you bring in a lot of different elements to this. Is not only did you have the Sami Zayn Open Challenge, and I was wrong on the preview that Jake and I did. Also, go check out Jake. Jake's been doing live streams all weekend, reacting to everything. The guy doesn't sleep, I'm pretty sure. Go show him some love. Tell him I sent you. But we had predicted that either it was going to be a call-up from NXT, which would have been a big, huge deal. We were thinking somebody like an Obafemi. Or the default route, which still would have been good, would have been to do Grayson Waller, because they're in Australia. Neither one of those things happened, and it was the long-awaited return of Nakamura, who's been skulking around the backstage for quite a bit. And it's a throwback to Nakamura's debut in WWE at NXT TakeOver, I forget which one, obviously. And it was Nakamura's first match in NXT, and it was Sami Zayn's last match in NXT. Somebody's going to correct me down in the box below. So these are guys that know each other. And then Sami Zayn, when he was like the weird conspiracy theory heel, was like managing Nakamura when he was the Intercontinental Champion. There's a lot of history there. These guys had a really good match, and the match was interrupted when... say it all together now. Somebody showed up in a black hoodie. And in this particular case, you could see that there was some face paint under the hoodie. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Does Nakamura have a new sidekick? Is Nakamura now part of a tag team? Because he didn't have the heel face paint that he's had in his last quick run on SmackDown either. Pull off the hood, and it's the last remaining missing member of the MFTs, which is Tama Tonga. Now, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, JC Mateo, and Tala Tonga surround the ring on all four sides, and they've all got the war paint on, and they all beat the shit out of Nakamura and Sami Zayn. Interessante, as Nick from Wrestling for Life would say. But very, very interesting. Interesting for me. I know that my knowledge of stuff is limited. I know that when the Gorillas of Destiny were a thing elsewhere, they came out in the face paint. I've seen pictures. That's literally all I've seen. I cannot claim to know the significance of it, but it put out there pretty bluntly. We've revamped, we've reinvigorated our efforts and our push behind these guys. They're going to be a scary group. Like, they fell into comedy for a little bit because Solo Sikoa, I think, either intentionally or unintentionally became really fucking funny and really, like, ironic and sarcastic and all that kind of thing. Now, for him to be the guy suited and booted in front of these four, as WWE is presenting them to us, painted up savages, is a really cool look, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I hope that doesn't mean that Solo Sikoa is just slipping into a manager's role, because, I mean, the guy can still go in the ring and whatnot, but this was a decimation. This is two guys in Nakamura and Sami Zayn who have very, very loyal followings in their own right. It's a callback to the history between the two of them. It's a callback to Nakamura's debut. It's a continuation of the Sami Zayn Open Challenge. Everybody's behind Sami Zayn because he's going to win the Rumble next year in Saudi, and we're getting ready for him to hold a different belt. That's all fine. That's all wonderful, but it comes to a grinding halt when the new and improved MFTs come out, painted hoodies, dressed to fight, 4-on-2 beatdown of these guys that people like, and then, like I say, Solo Sikoa coming out there suited and booted, sort of doing evil villain tented fingers type of things, surveying the scene, etc. And it's like, oh fuck, that's a really good bit of news to come out of SmackDown. That's a really cool thing. Let's see what they do with that. Well, we get down to later on in the night, and the Wyatt Six are defending their tag team titles against the Street Profits. Again, because, they've all of a sudden forgotten that there are other challengers. Nothing against the Profits, don't get me wrong, but it feels like they decided to have a division for a second, and now Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, and I know Pretty Deadly are injured. I know Mello Don't Miz isn't long for this world. I know Mello and Trick are probably going to become a thing, seeing what happened on Sunday at Bound for Glory. That's a conversation for a different time. But they kind of just forgot that the rest of the division exists. I mean, the Usos are a thing, and I don't think they've ever solidified that Jimmy was traded to Raw. So we're being pretty fluid with that. We've got the Lucha Brothers as well, who are all but gonna team up eventually. I mean, we've had Penta teaming up with Dragon Lee, and we've had Rey Fenix teaming up with Javon Evans. I said it in other pods, and I'll say it again here. Penta came out in an interview a little while ago saying he wasn't like in a super rush to put the Lucha Brothers back together because it's kind of cool for them to go off and do other things, but the other things that they are doing are tag teaming with everybody that's not each other, and I know it's not what they intend, but it comes off like a bit of a piss take, I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, they've forgotten that all those teams exist, and it just has to be the Street Profits again, because we have to tease the Street Profits breakup again, and we have to have, B-Fab come in and be the one that slaps them back into shape, and et cetera, et cetera. So it was a fantastic match, of course it was. Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy, I will continue to say, are forming into a pretty effective duo within the faction of the Wyatt Six, and they win, and there was some kind of misplaced something or other. I don't even remember because it's not the point. Because the lights come down, the lights go all stroby like they do for the Wyatt Six, and all of a sudden on the apron is the MFTs again, still painted up in the war paint, looking very cool in the dim light and the shocker light and whatever. And we get this really cool face off, and people are going to say that this is sacrilege. People are going to say that I'm exaggerating. People are going to say that, oh, you're just boosting the Fed and whatever other nonsense comes out of people with All Elite in their Twitter handle. This had rings of the very first time the Wyatt family and the Shield came face to face, when nobody said nothing and the crowd said holy shit and whatever the case may be. And then it was broken up a little bit because it was Nikki Cross of all people that stood up to Solo Sikoa. Now, there's 5 on the MFT side if Solo's wrestling, and there's 5 on the Wyatt Six, one of them being Nikki Cross. That's going to be a bit of a problem in the sense of WWE does not do intergender wrestling. This is where TNA has the high ground. You could do this match exactly as it exists right now if you would allow a little bit of intergender wrestling. Because Nikki Cross in the middle of a match sometimes slapping the shit out of Solo Sikoa would be kind of funny, or looking up to do it to Tala Tonga or something like that. But they've got their new revamped look, image, presentation, whatever you want to say. They took out 2... I don't know if Nakamura is a babyface right now, but he's popular, so I'll say he's a babyface in that regard. They came out, they destroyed the current U.S. champion and a very popular Sami Zayn, along with Nakamura. They stopped that match from happening, which is a theme of the weekend we will get to. But also, they have laid the gauntlet down for the Wyatt Six. And if it wasn't for a lot of other rumors that we're going to talk about later, I would say let that be your War Games match, but I don't think it's going to happen. Also worth saying that in this entire analogy, you had the Street Profits and Nakamura both in matches. Both have their old music, which is awesome, and it goes hand in hand with the idea that a lot of wrestlers have finally stood up and said, yeah, Def Rebel's kind of shit. The most prevalent people still left to... get their themes back that have been really, really vocal about it are Sheamus, because we all want Lobster Head back, and Drew McIntyre's Broken Dreams is something that we all want back. Drew McIntyre's current theme is actually not one that I mind. I just think Broken Dreams is really cool and really devious sounding for when he's playing a heel this good. Now, lost my place. We continued, once again, very much like Drew and Jacob Fatu, we continue to tease the Women's Tag Team Championship upcoming match between Sol Ruca, Zarya, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss. That story continues. They're both babyface, and they've both got their backs up, and they're both kind of offended by the other because they're just picking at each other, and it's just... Charlotte Flair is a natural heel. Alexa Bliss is a natural heel. Zarya kind of looks like she's a natural... I saw Zarya, out of wrestling gear, because somebody posted the picture. It's like, can you believe this is Zarya? And I was like, damn. And then you've got Sol Ruca, who's a natural babyface. So there's a lot of sarcasm and a lot of backhanded compliments and a lot of passive-aggressive nature between the 4 of these. And when they do get in the ring together, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not in any rush to get it. Save it for a pay-per-view. Save it for maybe Halloween Havoc, because, NXT shows need a boost. Let's be real. I like NXT. I'm an NXT guy. They could use some bigger crowds. Get some older, bigger names on there like Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, like they did for NXT Homecoming. It's not going to do anything bad. Another thing that we've been revisiting quite a bit is the feud between Aleister Black and Damian Priest. Really, really fun, last man standing, typical WWE walk and brawl, and, you know, two big guys belting the crap out of each other, and they didn't really hold back, but they didn't really give you anything to write home about until the end. Until they brawled out into the crowd, and I'm gonna steal the Simon Miller thing, they brawled all up onto a box-like structure, and they were slugging at each other, and Damian Priest had the upper hand, and all of a sudden somebody comes in and breaks it up and tries to hold Damian Priest back, and it's Zelina Vega, the real-life wife of Aleister Black, who's begging off, and just enough for Aleister Black to pull out the fireball, and fireball Damian Priest. And he didn't get defeated by the fireball. The fireball was a distraction. He then took the black mass through a table, and that was what got him the win. That's important. That's really important. Now, typical people are going to say, oh, we're supposed to believe Aleister Black is magic. Now, this is very, very similar. For those of you that have been watching NXT for a long time, there was a contract signing between Karrion Kross and I believe it was Keith Lee. And it was for, I think, when Keith Lee had the North American title. I may have that messed up. But bottom line, the whole segment got ripped to shreds by people that just want to rip WWE because, oh, we're supposed to believe that that Karrion Kross is magic. And it's like, because he opened up the contract and he got a fireball in the face and that was it. Oh, we're supposed to believe that, Karrion Kross can just make anything into fire. No, you're supposed to believe that Karrion Kross is a dickhead that put some flash paper in the contract to mortally wound the guy that he's about to face so that he has an easier win. It's the same thing here. Friggin' Aleister Black was in a match with no disqualification. Why would you not bring anything and everything to bear, especially when our opponents over on the other side of the wrestling spectrum are throwing around flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails? Can we have a little consistency? I would love a little bit of consistency. The point being, not so much that Damian Priest had his face burned off and he got kicked through a table. The point being that Aleister Black and Zelina Vega are now an act. Now that's kind of cool, in the sense that they split Zelina Vega off from the LWO, and the idea was we're going to put her on a different show, and she can finally be her own element, her own entity, and then they really didn't do anything with it other than a brief flirtation with the Women's U.S. Championship. Now, if you make her part of an act, then you've decided, first of all, that there's going to be an act. That's the biggest part of it. Do I think she should be... I was asked yesterday, do you think she's going to revert back into like a valet status like she was when she was with Andrade in NXT? And I don't think she will, because even when she was with Andrade, she was not only wrestling, but she was mixing it up with the guys for as much as WWE will let you. And also, if they've decided that Aleister Black is an act so much that you need to add somebody to that act, it makes me think they're going to push Aleister Black. So this is going to be mutually beneficial. They get to work with their own partners, which is awesome. CM Punk, AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, whatever poor Uso is married to Naomi there, have done it the same way. I go back to my favorite not important WrestleMania match with John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice, which was not to be taken seriously whatsoever, but they both got to go out and perform at WrestleMania with their respective partners at the time, and then, John Cena found better, but we don't really need to talk about that. I think it's a cool thing. It's enough to make me say, gee, I wonder what they're going to do next with them, which makes me think, okay, at least they're doing something with them, which is cool. So now we've got an invigorated push behind Black and Zelina Vega. We're building a women's tag team title match when the women's tag team titles were in the dumper for quite a bit of time. We're getting some production stuff in the form of people getting their old music back that people like. We've put a hell of a new twist and a new push behind the MFTs, and Jacob Fatu is going to be fine. Let's be real for a second. Then we switch over to Crown Jewel itself, and I was very tired. And once again, it's a huge credit to the Wrestling for Life guys who do their watch-along content better than anybody else in the game. Getting everybody up and at 'em and ready for the show and all that kind of thing. But compared to SmackDown, not too much actual news, just they did this, and I agree with it, and they did this, and maybe I didn't agree with it. But there's not very much to disagree with on this show. Roman lost to Bronson Reed, which everybody thought was like, oh, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns never takes a loss, blah, 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 blah. He's, just like Aleister Black and all these other people and FTR and blah, blah, blah. And then he loses, and people turn on a dime and say that, you know, why would he lose? Why would he lose to Bronson Reed? That's so stupid. Remember when he was at WrestleMania double stacking opponents and now he's losing to this guy? It's like, well, what do you want? Realistically, what do you want? It was a platform for Bronson Reed, who was in his home country. Let's think about that. That's supposed to be a good thing. Platform for Braun Breaker, his, you know, de facto tag team partner, who got to go around and wreck shop. The Usos tried to help, even though they were told not to help. It continues the bloodline story. It continues the sort of the three-way breakup between Jay, Jimmy, and Roman. It's a loss that doesn't hurt Roman, and it's a loss that is meaningful to Bronson Reed in the sense of, like, a year ago, nobody was beating Roman Reigns. And he got to do it in his hometown, and he got to open the show with it, and they did some cool stuff. I really don't know what else to say. Again, it's a WWE brawl. I'm sorry that there's no, like, cinder blocks and, you know, hypodermic needles and flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails, but, you know, they're in Australia, so they got cricket bats instead of kendo sticks. It's fine. It is what it is, but it's fine. I'm not saying it set the world on fire, pun intended. I'm not saying you miss anything by missing it, necessarily. The little vent session that Roman has with the Usos after the match, where he's not yelling at them for, like, fucking up. He's yelling at them for being out there at all. Like, and the key phrases was like, I told you guys not to help me. You know, people out there can't think I can't do this on my own anymore. So, like, retroactively, it installs this bit of pressure that Roman was putting on himself, which was a nice touch. You know, he walks away from the Usos, but then Jay, equally frustrated, becoming mini Roman, also walked away from Jimmy. And once again, poor Jimmy's sitting there like, the fuck did I do? Which is great, which is awesome. The women's tag was the women's tag. You know, say what you want, Rhea Ripley is the most popular and the biggest star the WWE women's division has, and I would venture, with a couple of exceptions, more than the guys as well. People are always throwing at me, well, what about Bianca? What about Naomi? Okay, cool. What about you talk to any crowd outside the US? Any. Remember when they were over in Paris? Remember when they were in London? Remember even a little bit when they were here in Toronto? I'm just saying. And they're not even here. Naomi's off baby making. Fine, cool, you fucked successfully. Good for you. Bianca's still hurt. That sucks. Hope she comes back soon. Hope her hand is better and whatever. Her and Tez are, I think, doing another season of their, like, reality show. So I'm sure that whole season will be about how fucked up her hand is. That's fine. I'm not going to watch it. It's okay. It can be over there. I can be over here. Kind of like the Super Bowl halftime show. Not because I don't like Bad Bunny, but because I don't watch football. Make the distinction, please. But anyways, you've got three women that know each other as well as Asuka, Io, and Kairi do, and you've got the star power of Rhea Ripley. This match was great. It was only ever going to go one way. Rhea Ripley was the star of the show, but let Io have the pin because the story is between Io and her former friends. The pin was over Kairi because obviously they're not going to put the pin on Asuka. I do believe Asuka and Stephanie McMahon is the next big title feud on Raw, and that's going to be fucking fantastic. It really, really is. The Crown Jewel Championships themselves went to who they should have gone to. Stephanie McMahon going over Tiffany Stratton is fine. The reaction to losing that match will do as much for Tiffany Stratton as winning it will do for Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon, once again, who's been very, very open about her struggles with English and her efforts to get better at English and whatever, having these post-match, not victory speeches, but like just appreciation for the crowd, appreciation for how far she's come, etc., etc., etc. I will put it out there. And I said this on somebody else's stream the other night. If you were going to say who the biggest success stories in wrestling were for 2025, I've got 4 suggestions for you. Stephanie McMahon, Dominic Mysterio, Leon Slater, Javon Evans. If you can come up with anybody bigger than those or you've got your own suggestions, please throw them down in the box below or throw these up in the chat if I decide to let this go live later on tonight. But the matches were what they were. There wasn't much interference in the Seth and Cody match, other than Seth came to the ring with the with the watch that Cody had given him after WrestleMania 40 for "thank you for being my shield," and it's got the very big, very obvious 40 on the face of it. It ended up getting used as brass knuckles. I like and I don't like, because it made the internet go crazy, the fact that Seth Rollins kicked out of a Avalanche Crossroads because, oh my god, the sanctity of finishers. Fuck off. Like, what are we doing here? I see what else you guys watch. There is no sanctity of finishers anymore. It's fine. But the matches were fine. Steph and Tiffany was great as well. The crowd is behind Stephanie. Stephanie is the next one getting the next... I don't want to say push. I say acknowledgement, and it's not a Roman Reigns thing. Because a push, to me... I may have mentioned this on another pod before. A push, to me, is somebody that's being pushed on you. An acknowledgement from the company is, okay, you're behind this person, we'll get behind them too. Stephanie Vacour is the next incarnation of Rhea Ripley in that regard. So the win is only going to do her, any number of good. The conversation around Tiffany Stratton matches recently, with some flubs that have happened with either people getting injured or referees missing spots, which is not their fault or whatever. Tiffany Stratton sort of needed to have a good night, and she did, and she was good in the loss. I don't think it's going to be any further thing going forward. I think the rumors are her next story is going to be Jade Cargill, which is absolutely fine. Jade Cargill also deserves some acknowledgement. I'll say, I'm trying to get push out of the thing. And yeah, at the end of the night, Seth won his match, and then Stephanie just magically appearing beside him to end off the show. Really, really kind of contrived. I get it. It's a photo op, whatever the case may be. The belts are gigantic. It's a huge joke. Oh my god, why do they have to do the Crown Jewel matches just because it's Crown Jewel? Let me introduce you to the Royal Rumble. Moving swiftly on. The belts are ridiculous, and the fact that they get rings instead is fine. I love the fact that AEW fans, and yes, I'm going to say this because, hypocrisy needs to be called out. Oh, they don't even get to keep the belts, they just get a ring. What is this, the fucking Super Bowl? Okay. I like MJF. How many absolutely useless, beautiful diamond rings does MJF have, because they created that gimmick basically for him and nobody else has had it? But yeah, it's silly, it is what it is, but also it just is what it is. You don't have to watch. That's the thing, once again. The highlight of the night was obviously the AJ Styles versus John Cena thing, which was a living tribute to everybody that's ever worked with either one of them. I like AJ Styles coming out in his old gear, the blue and white shorts with the short sleeve vest. As a lot of people said, he even had the string around his neck with his wedding ring on it, the way he used to in TNA. And then you got, John Cena has his, big elaborate introduction that Alicia Taylor does, or whoever is calling that night, but tonight it was Alicia Taylor. And she does, the never-seen 17 gracing you with his presence for the last time, the last real champion, even though he's not the champion anymore. But then he hands Alicia Taylor another piece of paper, for AJ Styles' introduction. And it's, the absolute epitome of total non-stop action, the ace and undisputed leader of the Bullet Club, the face that runs the place, the phenomenal AJ Styles. I thought that was awesome. And then we get into the match, and the whole match was just tribute. The whole friggin' match was just tribute. Everybody was borrowing finishers from everybody else. And I didn't want to go through the whole match again to sort of take notes and whatever. And I couldn't find a concise list anywhere. Anywhere that said, oh, look at all these different tributes they did, was just, okay, here's somebody's Twitter, here's somebody else's Twitter here. And it was all very monotonous. So I went to the port of last resort that is Reddit. And I don't usually go to Reddit. And I've never been a Redditor, so going to Reddit is not really something I'm going to do on a regular basis, but shout out to Reddit user Xathus. I don't know how to pronounce this at all. XSTHAX. Because they put it down in simple terms. The tributes done by John Cena. The skull-crushing finale for The Miz, the accolade for Rusev, the walls of Jericho for Jericho, the Sister Abigail for Bray Wyatt, the second rope DDT for Randy Orton, the RKO for Randy Orton, the chokeslam for Kane / The Undertaker, which everybody that hates The Undertaker because he likes the police wanted to say, no, that was for the Big Show, no. I mean, get over it. It's fine. Tombstone Piledriver for Kane / The Undertaker, just in case you weren't sure. I like the fact that they used the Tombstone Piledriver to get into the Attitude Adjustment so that it wasn't a no-sell of the Tombstone, but also he got to finish the match with his own move. Also worth mentioning that he tried and missed the punt kick, he tried and missed the 619, which would have been hilarious, and he tried and failed to hit a pedigree, and also the emotional moment of the night, and if you didn't feel something for this, I'm pretty sure you don't have a pulse, when he hit the Sister Abigail, the Bray Wyatt Sister Abigail, and everybody in the audience sort of clocked it at the same time. Everybody's phones came out, so they hit the Sister Abigail, and then the match kind of paused for a second, and they did this sweeping shot of the arena, because, and I hate this expression because it's a very 2025 expression, but everybody in that arena that night understood the assignment. I thought that was really cool. You could see the look on John Cena's face, how much it affected him. That's always cool to see. AJ Styles on the other side of the coin hit the Scorpion Death Drop for Sting. He hit the Coquina Clutch for Samoa Joe. He hit the Angel's Wings for Christopher Daniels. He hit the Fade to Black for Frankie Kazarian, which people were desperately trying to say was the Dead Eye for Adam Page. What are we doing here? He also hit the Attitude Adjustment, which wasn't a tribute as much as a, hey, I just used my opponent's finisher on them, isn't that clever? Hit the Sweet Chin Music for Shawn Michaels, which, again, everybody desperately tried to say was him trying to pay tribute to the Bucks, because that doesn't work. It just doesn't. Other than the Attitude Adjustment and the Sweet Chin Music, everything on his list was a tribute to people in TNA. Frankie Kazarian literally wrestled last night. Christopher Daniels is retired. Samoa Joe, I don't know where Samoa Joe is, probably playing in the mud somewhere. Sting has retired. All very, very cool things. And as it's listed here, here's the Cena tributes, here's the Styles tributes, and then the crowd being the Fireflies. And so, like I say, shout out to the Reddit users. I'll probably be on Reddit again sometime in like 10 years or what have you. But AJ Styles, John Cena was a fantastic, you knew pretty quickly exactly what the match was supposed to be match. They didn't try to wow you, they didn't try to, you know, we're going to pull out some brand new stuff. I kind of would have liked John Cena to pull out the Springboard Stunner, just for the laughs. But the respect they had before the match, the special intro for AJ Styles, don't know whether he knew about that or not. Either way, it's a pretty nice thing. And it worked into this thing that John Cena's been doing the whole time with his really, really long, prolonged entrance. And, the other thing he said in the entrance was, he's here one last time to see if he can beat up John Cena, because that was his thing. But yeah, it was a feel-good show. Like, when I look at the Crown Jewel titles, and I see, yeah, Seth and Steph won, and Seth and Steph should have won. Now, they should do something with that in the vein of both the Crown Jewel champions were on Raw. What the hell's SmackDown's problem? They can play with that or not. Rhea Ripley took on Kairi Sane on Raw. Two pretty obvious results. Dominic Mysterio took on Penta, and Rusev is waiting in the wings, and all that kind of thing. But, the main story coming out of Raw, and this is the big newsworthy one, and it's only newsworthy because it negates so much other news that we heard this week. The Vision came out to start Monday Night Raw today, and it was a big bragging session, as it should have been a big bragging session. Braun Breaker didn't have a match, but Bronson Reed beat Roman Reigns, now with chicanery, but at the same time it was a no DQ match, so did he cheat? Not really. On the, what do they say? On the call sheet, on the run sheet, when you look it up in the history books, Bronson Reed beat Roman Reigns. Isn't that fantastic? And Seth Rollins obviously didn't lose his title, because his title wasn't on the line, but he's walking around in his Burberry suit, head to toe. I'm sure MJF loved it. With the new, like, gargantuan Crown Jewel Championship, and it's a big winning night for me. You know, Braun Breaker is the future, and you know, the Oracle is the Oracle, and you know, Bronson Reed's the new tribal chief, and he proved it last night. And I beat Cody Rhodes all by myself, and I didn't need help, and I did it on my own, and I don't need help. I don't need a group behind me anymore. I chose these guys. I don't need these guys. And he's putting himself over, and sorry about the coughing, guys. Voice is what it is. But he did all these things that were like, I'm so great, and I didn't have any help, which he didn't on the night, to be fair. But it was sort of like, he's really hitting this on the head really hard to start off the show, and it's a great night, and it's a wonderful night. And as the night goes on, it gets announced that we're going to get a triple threat match, and the winner gets a shot at Seth Rollins' title at a later date. I'm pretty sure they kept on saying at a later date to drive it in, that they weren't giving us a specific time. I don't know whether this is for Survivor Series or whatever the case may be. But I mean, Jey Uso, LA Knight, yeah, and CM Punk. CM Punk won. Any other day of the week, if you guys know me, and if you've been listening to this channel long enough, any other day of the week, the headline would be CM Punk's fighting for the world title. Isn't that fucking great? Because I'm a CM Punk guy, and I don't make any apologies for that. It's fine. But the thing is that the Vision came down after that triple threat match was over, and they took out Seth, and they took out LA Knight, and they took out Jey Uso, and, you know, set the stage for Seth Rollins versus Punk version 3 or 4 or whatever it is. No Becky in sight, because she said the previous week on Raw that she wasn't going to be in Australia, and AJ Lee, hasn't been seen since WrestlePalooza, which is fine. She's a part-timer, or it was a one-off, or we don't know yet, or whatever the case may be. But they take out everybody, and they stand triumphant at the end of the night, and they even put the credit at the bottom of the screen. It's a flashback. It's a flashback to old NXT days, the post-credit killer himself, Papa H, backstage, writing the stories, writing the narratives. Credits come up, everybody's posing, everybody's celebrating. All of a sudden, bam! Braun Breaker takes out Seth Rollins. Braun Breaker gets in Bronson Reed's face, says, you got a fucking choice to make. Bronson Reed, like, shook, but snaps into it, hits him with the tsunami. The same set of tsunamis that got him in Seth Rollins' good graces in the first place. So there's a story there to tell. And then they both look at Paul Heyman, and they tell Paul Heyman, you got a choice to make. Very, very quickly, he puts his hands up in the air with them, raising them as his tag team. Like, they are his Road Warriors. They are his men on a mission. They are his Demolition. They are his Powers of Pain. They are his Authors of Pain. They are his, what the hell was the other team that I was just thinking of? NXT had a really, really bad knockoff version of the Legion of Doom. The Ascension. They are his Ascension. I said it a while ago. Break Seth Rollins away and let Seth Rollins and Becky be a unit and let Paul Heyman manage these guys. I think that's what they're doing, but I don't think it's by Paul Heyman's choice at this particular time. I think it's wonderful. I think the amount of shifting and the amount of storytelling and the amount of faction warfare that's bubbling just under the surface across all the shows is fantastic. But the reason that this all sticks out to me is because just days before Crown Jewel, all the leaks came up from all the prominent names, or all the names that like to pretend that they're prominent, that everything's been leaked for Survivor Series. There's going to be this match and that match, and, you know, I don't know, Drew McIntyre's going to get another shot at Cody, and the ladies are going to have this particular War Games match. That's where I got Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton from. And the men's War Games team was going to be Seth, Reed, Breaker, Brock Lesnar, and Austin Theory. At the time, people were bitching about Brock Lesnar being on the team. They were laughing about Austin Theory being on the team. Nobody thought that they were going to come and drop a bomb on Raw, drop a bomb on that whole story by separating the visionary from his vision. And it makes me say, what are they doing now? And I like when they make me say, what are they doing now? Because it makes me want to watch tomorrow. Because you never know, probably not, something might happen on NXT. Definitely something might happen on Impact. Of course, something's going to happen on SmackDown. Something's going to happen at the next show, and the next show, and the next show, and the next show. There's a lot. There's the fallout for WWE, and I'm soon going to get off the WWE thing. Fatu is going for the title, eventually. Drew is probably going to get back in the title picture. The MFTs are going to war with the Wyatt Six, and I'm sure the tag team titles will be a part of that at some way, shape, or form. The music thing is kind of a separate thing. The ladies' tag team titles are staying in the conversation. Priest took a pretty decent L, considering he's a former world champion, to punctuate the fact that Zelina Vega and Aleister Black are now an item on TV. AJ and Cena had a nostalgia match for the ages. The Crown Jewel champions are exactly where they should be. Roman put over Reed, even though people want to tell you it doesn't make any sense. And the women's tag was just, hey, we have a lot of fucking fantastic women, and we put more than one women's match on our cards because we're WWE. We're not the other guys. I'm going to take a quick breather before we get into the TNA stuff, because the TNA stuff's going to be an entirely different conversation. And we're back. Sorry for the jump cut there, guys. Just needed to take a breather for a second. Now we got to talk about TNA. TNA Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is a show I've been looking forward to for a long time. Had a lot of matches on there that I was really looking forward to. Had a good time watching the show. Got to start with the fact that they broke their own attendance record with 7,794 people. That's nothing to sneeze at for how small other people think they are. The people out there are like, oh, it's not nearly as much as All Out. Well, you don't know how much All Out sold because AEW doesn't give you proper ticket anything. So, I mean, you say you don't watch it, so just don't watch it. It's not that hard. I go back to what I said in the previous podcast segment there. If you don't like it, don't watch it. And if you're not watching it and bullshitting anyway, the people that are watching it will be able to tell quite quickly. But, that being said, somebody like myself who's been praising TNA the past little while, who's been praising the working relationship between NXT and TNA, who's been looking at the numbers, watching the numbers go up, watching them slowly, get to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. They went from, just after COVID, where there was like one row of fans around the ring until they were in a small studio, till they were using a very small portion of an arena, to now using a full arena at, I believe it was I don't know where the name of the place is, the Tsongas Center in Lowell, Massachusetts, and of course, Santino Marella mispronounced Massachusetts, because it's funnier that way. TNA are not beating the accusations that even when something is good, TNA are still going to TNA stuff sometimes. They're just not. Because as much fun as I had watching this show, and as much fun as I had watching people crash out, rightfully so, for some of it, once again, I will say go check out the Wrestling for Life guys. If you want watch-along content, they are the best at what they do. People saying, oh, you're kissing their asses all the time. Are they like trying to plug you? And I'm like, no, I enjoy them. I think other people might enjoy them. So I say, hey, go check out these guys. You might enjoy them. Like I shout out our buddy Jake and all that kind of thing. Because the other way to go is to, go the we hate everything route and follow something like What Culture. And I used to like What Culture, so it is what it is. But every good thing, or sorry, I shouldn't say every. Just about every good thing they did on this show has a yeah but beside it, which is unfortunate. The kickoff consisted of the Hall of Fame class for this year, which was for Mickie James and the Beautiful People, and they were inducted by Victoria and Tracy Brooks and Tommy Dreamer, and it was all done very tastefully. The way the crowd was situated in the arena, they had a bent entranceway, the way that you really only see when WWE has like a stadium show. So it was a cool look for them, and they didn't have much of a stage, which meant there was room for more people. You've heard me and Jake before talk about the small screen flex. I guess TNA was doing a bit of a small screen flex, which is fine, but it meant that they were doing the Hall of Fame induction in the bend of the aisleway, which was awkward, and they were doing it on the kickoff where people were still coming in, so people were giving these heartfelt speeches. People so well deserving, like the Beautiful People and Mickie James, etc., giving these heartfelt speeches that are supposed to sum up their careers and their life's work and all that type of thing, were doing it in an aisleway to nobody as people were filing into the building, and I think that's really shit. I think it's kind of cool that they made a big deal of the fact that this is the first all-female induction class for the Hall of Fame. Now, that being said, TNA does pretty small classes. You only get like 1 or 2, maybe 3 people going in a year. And I say 3 in this case because the Beautiful People is 1 induction, but it's still 2 people. It's still 2 careers. So that could have been handled better. The other thing is way before NXT was even a thing, and NXT kind of came along and tricked WWE into, hey, maybe you pay attention to the women's division, because the ladies are kicking ass. Long before any of that happened in WWE, you had the ladies kicking ass in TNA in the Knockouts division. So relegating the Women's Knockouts Tag Team Championship match to the kickoff is not a good look. It also means I didn't catch it. The Inspiration are still your champs. They defeated the Elegance brand. It's just kind of piling on bad news with the departure of Ash by Elegance, who left for undisclosed medical reasons, has now come out referring to herself as retired, etc. And the same gross people are like, oh, you're going to see her on OnlyFans in a week. And it's like, yeah, and you're probably going to subscribe, you weirdo. Fuck off. But continuing all best wishes to Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance, to whatever she does next. I hope she does something. I hope she gets some sort of like out of the ring role. Maybe she's in creative, maybe she's on commentary, if she wants to. If she doesn't want to, that's also fine. But I think somebody who was just reaching her peak when she had to step away definitely has something to contribute to the business, if she wants to. The Inspiration retain. I'm sure the Personal Concierge flipped out about it. I didn't see the kickoff, as I say, because this is the second time. WrestleMania was on Easter for us. I don't know where it lands in the rest of the world, because I'm not very worldly, you guys know this. But this particular show happened to fall on Canadian Thanksgiving, so there was family here chilling with the nephews and nieces and all that fun stuff. So I was kind of bouncing between this show and family stuff, so the first thing to fall by the wayside was the kickoff, which is why the Hall of Fame ceremony shouldn't be on the kickoff. You could have had a break. The way that every WrestleMania has some sort of small talking segment, or they come out to announce the attendance, or whatever the case may be, they could have done like 1 match, 2 match, 3 matches, Mickie James gets inducted. 1 match, 2 match, 3 matches, the Beautiful People get inducted. Like I say, it's a super small class. It's not like you're trying to fit an entirely other show into your show. This is just, and it's always been this way, but it really punctuated it for me in this case, because it meant that I missed it, which is super unfortunate. The other thing that was cool, speaking of the attendance, was right before the One Final Table match, the person that they sent out to announce the record-breaking North American attendance for TNA record of 7,794 people in attendance was Chris Bay. And it's awesome to see Chris Bay. There was a thing put up the other day of a very old episode of 205 Live, and Chris Bay was on there, and not that I wouldn't have known, but I wouldn't have known who he was back then. And like, selfishly, like, I want the guy to be okay, first and foremost. Selfishly, yeah, throw him in NXT, but like, he's a TNA guy. I would love to see him show back up anywhere. This is one of those cases where it's like, yeah, I bag on AEW a little bit, / a lot. But even if he showed up in AEW, it would be like, here's this guy that's been through this terrible thing and he's able to wrestle again. Like, put the tribalism aside for a second, and I'm telling myself that as well. But really, really cool to see him walk out under his own power, get the reaction and the reception that he deserved, and to announce that, 7,700 people, almost 7,800 people in the Songus Center, which I believe they said was the TNA North American live event record, and the record for an event of this kind for the Songus Center as well. So double records all over the place. Fantastic. The women's tag team title match should have been on the main card, and it wasn't. I haven't gone back to watch it, I'm not going to lie. The Inspiration are a lot of fun. The Elegance brand are a lot of fun. The Personal Concierge is a lot of fun, because George Iceman is a lot of fun. Shouldn't have been on the kickoff. Steve Macklin, Frankie Kazarian, and what I said in the preview was this is going to be a good match, because that's what Steve Maclin does. Steve Maclin is a very solid wrestler that has very good matches. Frankie Kazarian, also a fantastic wrestler, also filling in this little bit like the Miz of TNA role that he's doing now. And these two very good wrestlers had a very good wrestling match in which Steve Maclin reclaimed his international championship, which makes me ask the question, and makes a lot of people ask the question, why did he have to lose it in the first place? I'm happy for Kaz to achieve stuff and gain gold and all that kind of thing. I really like Kaz. I really like the role that he's pulling right now. But if they just flipped it off of him for a week or so to put it back on him, there's speculation, and I don't give this much credence, but with the NXT Invasion being renamed because it was, the anniversary of whatever military incursion. My history is not great. My knowledge of things in that part of the world are not great. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to be honest. With that being the reason that the name was changed of the show, did they really have to go and take somebody out because so much of their character is tied into their military past? I do think that's a conspiracy theory. I want to hope that there's no legs to that conspiracy theory. But also, on the upside, Steve Maclin can now say he's a two-time champion, and Kaz can say he held that title for a cup of coffee. It's fine. It was a match for match's sake, and it kind of made the initial title change at the last show feel a bit redundant. And we could have had Steve Maclin as part of the Showdown show. Steve Maclin, pretty fucking good wrestler. I'm just saying, dude is solid, and I hate to say solid because he's not an exciting wrestler per se, but you could put him in there with an exciting wrestler and it would help both of them. He's really a wrestler of a sense where I hear a match and it really depends on who his opponent is. His opponent has to be somebody that I really like or really hate, or else it becomes painfully neutral. And that's not his fault, to be honest. Made the only downside to this is it made the title change to Frankie Kazarian feel kind of meaningless, and that conspiracy theory that was all over Twitter is really disheartening, if true. Speaking of really disheartening, Tessa Blanchard fucking went in there and killed Gia Miller, which we thought she would. Jody Threat and Victoria Crawford were in the respective corners. I haven't caught up on Impact, and I hadn't caught up on Impact when we did the pre-show. The preview, rather, myself and Jake. We always come into those shows thinking, okay, we've kind of kept an eye on what's going on, but we haven't been watching week to week like we do with NXT and other things. Victoria Crawford's been paired up with Tessa Blanchard for a long time. Again, there's conspiracy theories as to why that's out there, and they're mostly ridiculous as well. Don't know why Jody Threat was in Gia Miller's corner, other than they're both baby faces and a little bit of babyface support. Gia Miller, damn, and also Gia Miller as a wrestler, also damn. Still pretty much got killed by Tessa Blanchard, and it was 6 minutes. I don't have anything bad to say about a 6-minute match, but I don't have much of anything to say about a 6-minute match. Now, okay, here's where we start getting fun. The 22-person, it was advertised as 20, we'll get there. The 22-person intergender Call Your Shot gauntlet match. Now, this is a gauntlet for men and women to receive a shot at a championship of their choosing. They get the trophy like Kazarian was carrying around all of last year when he put the scarf on it. It's basically a Royal Rumble with people getting tossed out until the last two people in the ring are the winners, and whoever scores the pin will be the Call Your Shot champion. Now, I should say, first of all, before we get into this, entrants were Lei Ying Lee, Mara Sade. Mara Sade is so fucking good. I know people are landing on her for the missed moonsault on NXT. Fuck off. Ryan Nemeth, Nick Nemeth, Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, AJ Francis, they doubled down on the throw one partner out there and then throw the other partner out there right away, which, not the most creative thing in the world, to be honest. Travis Williams, who, BDE, I had not seen before. I saw about enough to want to see this guy again. Just putting that one out there. Number 10, the Rascals came out as one as one entrant. Myron Reed, Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz came out as one entrant. And there's an asterisk beside this on Wikipedia, and I figure, go look at the asterisk. It's going to tell you why they were able to enter the whole team as one entry, and it just says all the members of the Rascals were allowed to enter the gauntlet and considered one single entry. Now that's funny when you consider that Travis Williams, or not Travis, when whoever it is, Sinner and Saint came out, and they had to do rock, paper, scissors to see which one of them was going to get the spot because they couldn't enter as a tag team. Interesting, right? Danny Luna, Eric Young, Jake something, Rosemary, always cool to see Rosemary. The hometown man was in there. Zach Clayton, who was out there with Tony Mamaluke, which is fine. Frankie Kazarian became number 17 when number 17 was actually Jody Threat, and Frankie Kazarian attacked her before she could get in the ring. Santino Marella yelled at him. Santino Marella himself was then entered at 18, Matt Cardona was 19, and Mance Warner, as we knew, was 20. Now it got down to Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian, and it comes down to the last two, and it's pinfall or submission. They went for a superplex off the top rope, and as they hit the ground, each one hooked the other one's leg. It was a double pin because there was two referees, because one of the referees had taken a bump, and instead of restarting the match, Santino Marella very awkwardly announces that there's two winners. No. Okay, so many ways to get around this. So many ways to work your way around this. So many ways to argue this. Nick Nemeth shouldn't need this to get himself back into the title picture because it's fucking Nick Nemeth. If you wanted to do it that Kazarian stole his way into the gauntlet and then became the guy that won it 2 years in a row, like winning the Rumble 2 years in a row, like winning the Dynamite Diamond Ring 27 years in a row, then cool, do that. But he's sharing that accolade. So Frankie Kazarian is the first person to win 1.5 call your shot gauntlets. That's not a thing. This was not good. And I promise you, as we got in through the rest of the night, it would continue to not be good. So instead of just, restarting the match, which would have made sense, you had Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian both carrying the trophy together, doing that weird tug-of-war thing with the trophy, like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar did all those years ago. We made fun of them, rightfully so. We got to make fun of this too. That was not good. They even had a segment in the back later on where Nick and Ryan Nemeth were celebrating the win in the back because Nemeth got the title or the trophy somehow, and Kazarian snuck in behind them with the same scarf that he put on the trophy last year and put it back on the trophy because, hey, we're doing it again. Dunno, not great. Not great at all. Next up, Kalani Jordan versus Indy Hartwell. Fantastic match. Kalani Jordan, both of them. Indy Hartwell, who's in TNA now, feels 10 feet tall compared to how she was in WWE because, they teamed her up with Persia Pirotta for a little bit, but other than that, she was always the learning younger talent in the faction, even when they did The Way, and her and Austin Theory were basically Gargano and LeRae's kids, which was funny, and it made for comical stuff, but the people that said it was weird. She's come out this week, apparently, and talked about, they used piped-in noises for the comedy shtick with her and Dexter in the hotel, and it's it's a comedy shtick. Of course they piped in sound effects. Now, if you feel some kind of way about it and you were part of it, you're obviously allowed to have a part of it, but it's not this big expose that they weren't fucking for real. Let's be real for a second. And Kalani Jordan has gone the route of, like I say, a Cora Jade, a Trick Williams, JC Jane, and she also looks about 10 feet tall on a TNA stage. She's doing the opposite of what Trick Williams did. Trick Williams walked around as the TNA champion, telling everybody in TNA that they sucked and telling everybody in NXT that they suck. I'm carrying both of you. Whereas Kalani Jordan is playing this, I'm loyal to NXT and that's my home base, but these people over here, they gave me an opportunity, and I'm happy to carry their title, and I take that responsibility seriously and whatever. And the commentators are carrying some of the storytelling weight of that and saying stuff like, oh, you know, how does she, you know, walk around with two different things in her heart, or whatever you want to say. The match was fantastic. Kalani Jordan got the win. Interesting choice. Really, really interesting choice. Now, if things were the way they used to be, if Jacy Jayne was still the champion from, like, time and days ago, this would be a different story. Now, I'm glad that Ash by Elegance won, because then we saw that she had to leave afterwards, so I'm glad that she has that under her belt before she had to step away. Also, you know, Masha Slamovich is going through what she's going through, so the person to bring that title back is also a different person, potentially in Indy Hartwell, etc. So you gotta think 2 or 3 months ago, this match would have been Jacy Jayne defending her TNA title against TNA's Masha Slamovich, because they were building her up to be that person. And lots of things happened. Masha Slamovich had a bunch of accusations thrown her way. Ash by Elegance had to step away. They crowned Kalani Jordan like 5 minutes ago. Indy Hartwell was the one that was the #1 contender before the title had a new holder. That was all very strange. It wasn't this big heated war. They touched on the fact that they had both worked in NXT and they both had a bit of history, but they didn't try to pull like this very serious rivalry out of nowhere story, which I thought was a good call, because people would have seen through it. Kalani Jordan, people are buzzing about it online, and all I will say is, you know, Konosuke Takeshita is the new IWGP champion. Who does he work for again? Who else held the TNA, the Impact title? Was that Kenny Omega? Did anybody have a problem with that at the time? Mercedes Moné has now cocksucked her way to 10 belts. 10. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything. Plus TNA has the NXT tag team titles at the moment. So that's 2. This is only 1. Moving swiftly on. The 10-person intergender hardcore war, the highlight of this whole thing was Alicia Edwards. Didn't think I'd go into this match saying that. When Special Agent Zero gave her the body slam in the tacks, and it was terrible. And then Mustafa Ali poured the thumbtacks on top of her so that he could do a splash. She moved, thank God. And he took it to the chest. And they did a bunch of other stuff, but clearly they were building to those spots. The system got the win. Nice feel-good moment for the babyface system. They all came out in green because they were in Boston. I know Eddie Edwards is from Boston. I don't know about the rest of them. Eddie Edwards actually won the match with a barbed wire wrapped Boston knee party, so that was a nice touch. Everybody did their part in this, and again, that seems like one of those throwaway statements. I don't really care about either team, and I'm going to get repetitive here. The people in the system are great. I never really had much to say about Alicia Edwards until this match, and she, you know, showed up, showed out, as the expression goes. I like Eddie Edwards individually, Brian Myers individually, Moose individually, JDC individually. As a group, they are still the Island of Misfit Toys, and Order 4 is just Mustafa Ali and friends. They did a lot. They did a hell of a lot. I wish I thought more about this match for how much they put into this match. And so that's the bad tick on this one, and that one's probably on me as much as anything. Part of it is I don't want to boo Mustafa Ali. Part of it is the system worked better as heels. The system were the first ones to sort of stand up and say, like, hey, we're gonna, like, fuck with all these NXT intruders, and then they made, like, a ramshackle TNA team rather than just sending in the system. But the system fought Dark State, and we'll get to them in a second. God. Oh, my God. TNA, 1 step forward, 5 steps back. Leon Slater versus Javon Evans should have been the match of the weekend. Should have been the match of the weekend. And it was until the end, because they had to make it convoluted. They had to TNA it and I hate saying that because I don't think TNA it should be a thing. This was everything we wanted from these two guys. The whole, like, we came in, we're both a little bit cocky, but we're cheering each other, we're high-fiving each other, we're handshaking each other, and then, you know, a little bit of you know, bravado gets in there, a little bit of machismo gets in there, a little bit of Kavorka gets in there, and it starts, you know, the hits start coming for real, and they do the spots, they do the incredible, the amount of neckbreaker spots that were in this match were insane. The amount of really, really stiff kicks and knee shots was a lot of fun, and then they did eventually brawl into the crowd as well. Now, they brawled into the crowd, and I thought they got counted out when the bell rang, which would have been lame, because they always say, oh, a count out is at referee's discretion, but they didn't get counted out, which I'll give them points for trying here. They exceeded the 20-minute time limit. Now, I forgot that the X Division had a 20-minute time limit. I really did. And I thought, oh, you cannot do this. You cannot have this be a draw after you had the 22-person gauntlet match be a draw. But Santino comes out, and Santino gets the hero's reception for saying, oh my god, you know, we cannot have this ending like this. I think everybody here is like me, and they want to see the end of this match, and they want to see a proper winner to this match. And everybody's saying, yes, but the gauntlet match, why didn't you do that there? Etc., etc., etc. So they started it again to have Dark State come in and beat the shit out of both of them. What are we doing? I mean, it's literally what happened on SmackDown, except what happened on SmackDown was cool. Now I kind of want to see Dark State versus the MFTs, but that's another story for another day. This was a dumb move. It was dumb to have it end in a count out. It was... I know that when you get robbed of a finish and then you say, okay, we're going to restart the match, you get that reinvigorated sense of euphoria in the crowd and all that, and that part of it is fine. I get that that serves a purpose, but if you're going to do that and risk losing the crowd with a bullshit finish, don't then turn around and get their hopes up again and then give them another bullshit finish. This was insane. This was like, have people in the 22-person intergender call your shot gauntlet match, having two winners, and you might get some comedy value out of it because now they both have to carry the trophy, and it won't be for everybody, and I can't really defend it either, but you're going to get, oh, Kaz comes out to cash in, and no, Nick Nemeth is coming to cash in, oh, well, I've got the trophy, so possession is 9/10 of the law. You can run a lot of really obnoxious comedy with those two characters with that, and you can almost get away with it. This is not that. This is two of the most prominently featured mid-carders in NXT and TNA coming together almost naturally in the way that we see them within their two brands, coming together for the exact title that suits their two styles, that also happens to be, and they said it on commentary, the signature title of your company. Guys, can't do it for this one. Cannot defend this one. Cannot defend this one within an inch of its life. I really, really can't. I want to hope, and it's not because I want to take this away from TNA and put it on an NXT show, because, you know, you could do that, and they've done it, and Leon Slater has been on NXT as well, which is awesome. But I'm kind of thinking they're going to run this back at Halloween Havoc, and that's fine. This was the match that was taken from us before. You can have Leon Slater come over to NXT, and Leon and Javon, maybe they get a shot at two random members of Dark State. If they still had the tag titles, that might be a thing. We saw Javon and Leon Slater as a tag team 2 weeks ago on the same page. But it's you can't make this work. Run it back at Halloween Havoc. It'll be fine. Run it back at I can't think of what the next TNA show is. That's terrible. I'm cheating. I'm looking up the Wikipedia page. I don't know. But run it back. It'll still be great. And I still do think Javon Evans is going to pick up that title at one point. But you had a really cool thing to do here, and you didn't do it. And you didn't even do the predictable thing of Javon going in there, giving the fight of his life, and just falling short of the champion, which would have been a really cool thing for Leon Slater. You can't defend this. I don't know why I'm trying to talk around it. You can't defend this. This was shit. This was really shit. But you know what wasn't shit? And the only thing that I can't really attach anything negative to, other than, 25 years of nostalgia and fans' hearts breaking around the world. Just before this match, you had, like I say, Chris Bay came out, announced the record-breaking attendance for not only TNA in North America, but also for the Songas Center of 7,700 people, almost 7,800 people, which is fine. As I say, very, very cool to see Chris Bay. We know what he's been through, and all the well wishes go to him and all the rest of the people that are injured right now. I know he's over in AEW, but Kota Ibushi, man, what the fuck was that fall about? And why would you televise that on a show that was pre-taped that you very easily could have edited out? What are we doing? But no, shout out to him. There's a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is a dig, there's a lot of people that are recovering over on the AEW side. You got Swerve, you got Ospreay, you got Omega, I'm forgetting some people. You got like Big E on our side, you got Kevin Owens on our side, you got Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair. Naomi's not injured, but she's off baby making. She's going to be gone a while. It's crazy times out there. Let's not try to hurt each other. But that being said, very, very cool to see Chris Bay. Very cool to bring him out to bring out more good news of the attendance and the records and all that after we just saw that debacle with the X Division Championship match. I want Leon Slater, being the babyface that he is, to be like, I don't consider myself to be like the champion or whatever because I didn't properly defend my title. That match didn't have an ending. We have to run it back. From a babyface champion's point of view, they have to run it back. From a fan point of view, I want to see that match again. It's bad, man. It's bad. Hardys and Team 3D tables match for the TNA and NXT Tag Team Championships. This was a lot. They did all the hits. And what else were you going to do? There was health concerns, mostly for Devon, but I've heard there's some significant health concerns for Bubba Ray as well. Jeff Hardy did the Madison Square Garden, I'm going to jump off the ladder in the aisleway down to the tables, and I think he clipped his head, which is not ideal because he was moving around kind of funny after that. Not doing the concern trolling thing, I just hope he's okay. I'm concerned genuine-ing. I don't know if that's a thing. Jeff Hardy went through a table, Devon went through the table, and then when it came to the end of the brawl, and Devon was out on the outside, and Bubba Ray was on the inside, and he just sort of stared down the Hardys, and he just sort of backed up to the table that was standing behind him and just said, go ahead and do it. Very much not on the same level, obviously, but if you remember the WrestleMania match that Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair had, where by the end of it, it was just like basically put me out of my misery. That's what Bubba did for the Hardys, and they ended it not on a swanton or a twist of fate or a 3D. They ended it on this really simple, like double choke slam type maneuver through the thing, and it's all about the afters. And I'm not going to go super sappy on this. You guys know what a mark I am for the Hardys, but I mean, like, if you're a mark for the Hardys, you kind of got to be a mark for the Dudleys and Edge and Christian as well. And wouldn't it be cool if we lived in a cool wrestling world where Edge and Christian could have been there too? But it's not, because it's not. They all came together at the end. Super respectful, big hugs for everybody. Everybody's raising everybody else's hand. Obviously, Carlos Silva's out there to hand out all the gold that... Because in amongst all this, the part that doesn't really matter is the fact that the Hardys are still the TNA and NXT champions. Now, granted, they're also the Fourth Rope and HOG champions. Now, that's 4 titles divided among 2 people. It's not quite as obnoxious as one person that can't wrestle holding 10, but we're working on it. I don't want to say the titles don't matter, but I will say that in the sense of this particular story and what this match was, you could have made this a non-title match and it still could have been just as good. It still could have been just as meaningful. These guys came together. They all came together and hugged and kind of like mutually celebrated each other. But then when the Hardys went to leave, and you have that whole like, oh, if somebody's retiring, you sort of leave them the ring. So the Hardys went to leave. Dudley's grabbed them both by the shoulder, brought them back in. And all the crowd just went, oh shit, and everybody watching online went, oh, this is kind of cool. The Dudleys, you know, they pull up the pants, they start unlacing the boots, they start unlacing the boots, and they don't quite do the typical leave your boots in the ring thing. They took off their boots and presented them to the Hardys, and then all just more big hugs, more big, you know, let's bring it all in, let's bring it all together type of thing. And just, I don't know, like I say, I'm not here to give a super sentimental, like, diatribe about this, but holy fuck, man, like, we're all getting old, and our heroes are getting old, and our heroes are retiring, and all that kind of thing. Really, really happy that they got to do it. Like I say, if we lived in a different wrestling landscape, and not even necessarily to be in the match, but if Edge and Christian could have at least been there, but that's never going to happen, and we know why. It's super unfortunate. It's probably why Madison Rayne wasn't inducted along with the other two members of the Beautiful People, which is also pretty shit, if you ask me. But yeah, that was that. Spike Dudley came out with them at the beginning to give them the glasses, and they put the glasses on the ring announcer as she was doing the ring announcements, and all that fun stuff. Hardy Boys were out in the old, like, tight t-shirts that they used to wear when they were managed by Michael P.S. Hayes, which was a nice touch. When they came out with Brother Runt / Spike Dudley, I thought for a split second, are they going to come out with Lita? And that would have been cool as well. I think Lita has a Legends contract with WWE, so there's not going to be some other company out there saying that they can't participate. I mean, if you couldn't get Edge and Christian, Rhino would have been a decent little thing, because if you remember in the second TLC, the three members that came out to help and assist or whatever were Spike Dudley for the Dudleys, Lita for the Hardys, and then Rhino for Edge and Christian, because Rhino was with Edge and Christian for a little bit. Anyways, I'm just rambling on this one at this point. But yeah, it was what it was, and it was exactly what it needed to be. Oh my god, it wasn't what they used to do. Well, what they used to do was 25 years ago, and also fuck off. Just saying. Mike Santana, Trick Williams for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship was exactly what it was. It was the passing of the torch to Mike Santana. I am almost 100% sure that Trick Williams is going to show up this Friday on SmackDown. Trick Williams is a fucking star, coming out in all white in the fighter's robe like he did. Mike Santana making his entrance to the crowd. They made a point at various points of showing his daughter in the crowd. Mike Santana bled a whole bunch when they showed his daughter. She didn't seem concerned at all. She was just there, like, loving it. Very cool. Lots and lots of near falls. People were saying that because Kalani Jordan kept a TNA title, that Trick was going to do the same thing, and we were going to play this whole scenario out in our heads once again. And it was just like, okay, it's not the worst thing in the world for the belts to go around and around and around. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Remember when we thought that, who was it? Was it JDC was going to come over and win the NXT Heritage Cup, and that was going to be the first title to change hands? I don't know. It's fine. It is what it is. The thing with the Kalani Jordan example is they're not using it to also hinge a company versus company rivalry. Like, she's come in, she's been very, like, respectful babyface-ish, and she's like, oh, I've got a title, I better defend it. Whereas Trick Williams is like, nah, I run shit on NXT, and I run shit in TNA. And it's the difference between, like, you don't have to double up stories and all that kind of thing. Mike Santana, Trick Williams, Mike Santana's a fucking star. I'm gonna keep saying this. If he eventually goes the other way, I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna say no. There's a lot of people rumored to have contracts up and over at the end of this year for TNA. Masha Slamovich, Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, the Hardys, the Iconics, Cedric Alexander. I don't want to poach from TNA, as the accusation has been, even though more talent have gone from TNA to AEW than from TNA to WWE, considering right now it's one in Jordan Grace. But, like, looking at those names, I know there's accusations attached, and let's get all that sorted out first, but Masha Slamovich would kill in the NXT/WWE women's division. Cedric Alexander has been there before. Mike Santana would kill on NXT/ the main roster. Joe Hendry's already kind of there. He's the one that's rumored to come over and all that. The Iconics were not used properly the first time around, and it would be cool to see them get a second go. And the Hardys can always come back. The Hardys are the Hardys. They can just always come back. It's fine. As I say, it's a very weird position to be in, because this accusation that, oh, they're going to go in there and steal talent, like they're holding people at gunpoint to sign contracts, is not a thing. But as somebody who's also a WWE fan, you look down that list and you say, yeah, there's not very many people on that list that I would say no to as a fan if I was telling them who to hire and who to fire, which I'm not. But yeah, Santana, one day over in the main roster. Right now, Trick Williams is going to be a main roster concern. Mike Santana gets the win. I was kind of thinking that he was going to get a bigger entrance, because he's had people musical acts and whatnot like wrap him to the ring before, and they've done other specific things. They didn't really do much in other than to have him like walking in through the crowd like he does, picking up the flags and all that kind of thing. All the heritage related stuff. They mentioned that one of his armbands was for a wrestling friend of his that had just passed away recently. So that kind of thing is always cool. Much like we talked about the Bray Wyatt tribute over in Australia there. And he got the win, because of course he got the win. Like, he hit him with spin the block, and then he picked him up to hit spin the block again after he got bloodied, after he got beaten and busted open and all that kind of thing. And then he wins. He becomes the champion. He, complete the loop, complete the circle, like, finish the story, as is becoming like a cliche for everybody now. But Santana finishes his story. He got away from AEW. He got away from his tag team partner. He decided to bet on himself, be a singles guy, go back to TNA and make himself a world champion. And he did it. And that's fantastic. And roped into that is not only that he's now the TNA world champion, but he's also the one that represented TNA and got that title back from NXT. From a kayfabe point of view, all of it's fantastic. There's your shot. There's your shot to end the night. And then, because there was so much bullshit with the Call Your Shot gauntlet, out comes Nick Nemeth with the trophy. Out comes Nick Nemeth with the trophy. The lights go out. Nick Nemeth doesn't get to cash in his trophy because he gets bashed in the head by a guitar from a returning Elias. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Elias was injured. Him returning is great. But he's returning to stop the afters of what happened at the end of a last match is not great. And then from the other side, you've got the other gauntlet winner, Kazarian, who's in the ring saying that he's cashed in, but he can't cash in because he doesn't have physical custody of the trophy itself. And Santana stands in front of him and it's like, you can't go to the rampway where Nemeth and Elias are having their thing, because that's where the trophy is, because you came out without the trophy, and if you can't get by me to get the trophy, you can't come back in here and cash the trophy in on me. What are we doing? Anyway, we sweep that under the rug real quick. We got the real last shot, which is Santana's daughter, who he's spoken quite openly about when he talks about, his struggles when he was down at hitting rock bottom, when he was in rehab, and all the stuff that he had to do, and everything he does now he does for his daughter, which is believable, which is like real shit. But like, to see this guy who's come so far, who's come from, like I say, I was introduced to him as a random tag team that was on the lower end of a random faction in AEW, not doing much, kind of doing plunder brawls and doing like parking lot fights with the best friends, and that's gonna rocket your career for sure. To go from that and then to learn about all his personal struggles. He fell out with his tag team partner, he fell out with his former employer, decided to bet on himself, like I said, come back to TNA, and not only say, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do this for my family, I'm going to do this for my daughter. And to see this guy's daughter in the ring with him, with his ring vest on, and him on his hands and knees handing that brand newly won TNA title to his daughter, like, that's everything. That's literally everything that you're supposed to get from wrestling. And it's awesome, and TNA deserves a world of credit for creating a moment like that. They created several moments, but they also sprinkled a lot of TNA on it. And, like, you could have just not had Dolph Ziggler and Elias and Kaz and a guitar shot and two people holding a trophy, and you know, this has to end in a tie, but the next match that ended in a tie has to be restarted so that it can be stopped again by Dark State. And I don't know, guys. I really want to love TNA, and I really want to be the guy that goes out there and tells other people this is why you should give TNA a chance. This is why you should, you know, they're going to be the number 2 company if AEW keeps going the way they're going. TNA, I want to love you. Why don't you let me love you? This was a fun show to watch for all the best and all the worst reasons. I'm not sorry that I watched it. I had a blast watching it. I may or may not have been inebriated while I was watching it and full of turkey, which may have contributed as well, which is why I haven't done anything until today. Mixed bag of a show. The Dudleys send-off was fantastic. The ladies' title match was fantastic. Leon and Javon was exactly what it was marketed as up until the point where they fucked it up. The fucking call your shot gauntlet having 2 winners is insane. Trick Williams doing his honors on the way out. And the one thing I did say on social media of, like, everybody's going to be coming out today saying congratulations to Mike Santana. It's been a long road, both in fiction and in reality. You should be proud of yourself, da-da-da-da. Let's not let it go for short that the first crossover champion from NXT to TNA was Trick Williams. And not only did he have to be the guy to bridge that gap, he had to be the first, but all things considered, he had a pretty decent TNA title run in his own right, and he sort of found himself in TNA, which is happening quite a bit. I think TNA deserves a lot of credit for that. I think Trick deserves a lot of credit for that, and I hope he can roll the momentum off of that into whatever he's going to turn around and do on the main roster. There's a lot of success here, but you gotta weed through a lot of other stuff to get it. I'm really interested to see what you guys think. I've rambled about all this stuff for quite long enough, and I still have to put it together, edit it, and get it uploaded. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm losing my voice, as you guys can tell. If I get a chance to put this up as a live preview, I will talk to you guys in the chat. If not, I hope you enjoy it as a pod. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.